The alarm went off at 4:53, not 5:00, 4:53, because I had learned that the 7 minutes between an alarm and the next alarm were the most dangerous minutes of my day. 7 minutes was enough time to fall back. 7 minutes was enough time to forget where I had to be. I lay there for a moment and looked at the ceiling. I had been looking at that ceiling for 2 years now. I knew every crack in it. I had made small stories about them, once, when I first moved in and everything still felt like the beginning of something. I didn't do that anymore. I got up before the second alarm. That was the rule. Get up before the second alarm. I had made a lot of rules for myself. They were the only things that kept the days from becoming one long unbroken thing. The bathroom light flickered, as it always did. I had meant to fix it for 8 months. I stood under it anyway, brushing my teeth, watching myself in the mirror. I looked older than I remembered becoming. I had not noticed it happening. I had been too busy for it to happen in front of me. I made coffee. Strong. No sugar since February. I had read something about glucose and cognition and decided the discomfort was the point. I drank it standing up. I had not sat down for breakfast in a long time. Sitting down for breakfast was something people did when they had mornings. I had the first 40 minutes before the bus. This is what nobody tells you about being this particular kind of tired. It does not feel dramatic. It doesn't feel like anything you could explain to someone and have them understand. It just feels like weight, a specific practical weight, the kind you have been carrying long enough that you have stopped noticing it until you try to put it down and discover you don't know how anymore. I checked my phone before leaving. 3 notifications from my study group. 1 from my manager at the restaurant. A schedule change I had already agreed to because the word no had started to feel like a luxury I had not yet earned. 1 message from my mother with a prayer emoji. I replied with a heart. It was the fastest form of honesty I had left. On the bus, I opened my pathophysiology notes. The words came in slowly at first, the way they always did this early. I had learned to read the same paragraph 3 times until it stopped sliding off my brain. I did not mind this anymore. I used to sit on buses and look out windows and think about things that weren't notes. I could not remember the last time I had done that. The girl across the aisle was asleep, her head against the glass. I watched her for a moment, not the way you watch a person, but the way you watch something you used to be, unguarded, horizontal, available to rest. I looked back down at my notes. The hospital cafeteria at 6:15 in the morning has a specific quality of light, too bright for the hour. The fluorescents have not gotten the memo that the world is not fully awake yet. I had learned to ignore the light the same way I had learned to ignore the smell. Antiseptic and something else underneath it. Something human that no cleaning product could fully reach. I put on gloves. I started my shift. I was good at this. That was the thing. I was good at this in a way nobody ever said out loud, not because they didn't notice, but because efficiency in a cafeteria is not the kind of thing that generates compliments. I moved the trays. I restocked the line. I made sure the hot things were hot. I knew the nurses by order, the overnight ones who needed the largest coffees and the smallest amount of conversation. I learned this without being told. I just paid attention. I had always been good at paying attention when it mattered. If this channel has found the right person, the subscribe button is there. We'll keep going. Around 8:40, a man in a patient gown shuffled past the counter with a tray that was too heavy for him. He was old, and the tray was shaking slightly, and he had not asked for help, because people who have been in hospitals long enough stop asking for help with small things. I took the tray without a word, set it down at the nearest table, nodded once. He said thank you in the quiet way people say thank you when they mean something else by it. I went back to the line. That was the whole moment. 30 seconds. Nobody saw it. Nobody wrote it down. I passed my pharmacology exam. 86. I saw it on my phone on the break between my cafeteria shift and the opening of the restaurant, standing in the alley behind the kitchen where the staff went to eat when there was no time to sit. I looked at the number. I had studied for it across 3 different nights, each in a different city of exhaustion. I had not told anyone I was worried about it. I sent a screenshot to my mother. I put my phone away. I ate my food. I had 11 minutes. And here is the part that's harder to say. I was pre-med, because at 17 years old I had sat in a hospital waiting room and watched a doctor explain something to my father in a way that made my father stop being afraid. Just like that. One doctor. One conversation. I had decided then. I had not questioned it since. I do not let myself question it, not because I am certain, but because the question, if I let it fully arrive, would be enormous, would be everything. And I do not have room for enormous right now. I am too busy keeping the thing alive. I do not think about whether I am okay. Thinking about it is a door I cannot afford to open on a Tuesday. By 3 p.m., I had been awake for 10 hours, and my feet hurt in a way that had become familiar enough to be boring. The restaurant was filling up for the dinner shift. I had 3 hours until close. I refilled waters. I took orders with the particular competence of someone who has done this long enough that the body just knows, who needs the check, who is about to order dessert, which table is about to complain. I knew. I was never wrong. There was a moment around 5 p.m. when a song came on over the speakers, something old, something from a playlist somebody's parent might have made, and for 8 seconds I was 19 years old sitting in a library at a different school. Before this one, when being pre-med was still a dream and not yet a wait. When I had time to be in a library and not actually know anything yet, and still feel like the knowing was coming and everything ahead was possibility. I poured water into a glass. The moment passed. I brought the water to table 7. This is what it does to you. Quietly. Not the exhaustion. Not even the debt, or the pressure, or the exams. It is the way time compresses. The way the version of myself that had room to think and dream and wonder is now a figure in a different part of the same hallway. Close enough to remember, too far to reach. I have not decided whether this is the cost of becoming something or the cost of losing something. I am not sure yet that it has to be one and not the other. I stayed 20 minutes after close. Not because I had to. Because it was quiet in the restaurant after everyone left, and the quiet was different from the quiet in my apartment, and I needed a few minutes of a quiet that wasn't my own. I wiped tables. I stacked chairs. The manager thanked me. I said no problem. I meant it. On the bus home, I didn't open my notes. I sat with my back against the window and looked at the city going by in the dark. I had not done this in a long time. Just looked. I watched the lit windows of apartments, the blue flicker of televisions, the warm yellow of kitchen lights, the dark ones of people already asleep. People living in evenings. People who had evenings. I did not envy them exactly. It was something quieter than envy. It was the specific, particular ache of watching a version of your life you might have had if you had wanted different things, or been built differently, or been given different circumstances, and knowing that the version you are living is still, somehow, the one you would choose. I was not sure I had fully chosen it. That was the thing nobody said. You drift into the choices that define you. You are too busy to stop and see that you are choosing. And then one day you are on a night bus looking at other people's kitchen lights, and you understand, very quietly, that this is the road, that this is actually what it looks like, from inside. I got home at 11:40. I set my alarm for 4:53. I sat on the edge of my bed for a moment and did not move. I was not thinking about anything. I was simply there, fully, completely there, in the way that only happens when the body has finally run out of somewhere else to be. I did not fix anything tonight. I did not figure anything out. I passed one exam and carried 2 trays and poured approximately 200 glasses of water and did not break once, not visibly, not where anyone could see. I lay down still in my scrubs, somewhere under everything. Under the notes and the shifts and the alarm set for 4:53, I still believed in the doctor at the end. The one who would explain something to someone's father. The one who would make them stop being afraid. I still believed in that. Even tonight. That might be enough to keep going. It usually is.